welcome to another episode of The Word for Kids. I'm Jaymie and I'm guiding you through the book of Genesis in a series of 20 episodes. Last time we learned about a man named Joseph. Joseph was the favorite son of Jacob and Rachel. His brothers hated him. So one day in a field, they took the special robe his father had given him and eventually sold him to some people traveling through. Joseph ended up in Egypt, where he was sold again to a man named Potiphar, who was the captain of the guard and one of Pharaoh's officials. That's where our story left off last time. Let's find out what happened next. Are you ready for today's adventure? Let's go! The king, or Pharaoh, had many servants in charge of taking care of different things. He had complete power over his servants, and if they did something he didn't like, he could throw them in prison or even have them killed. One day, his cupbearer and his baker offended him. We don't know what it was they did, but the point is, Pharaoh was mad and put them in prison. The same prison, as it turns out, that Joseph was in. The captain of the guard put Joseph in charge of attending to them. One night, when they had been there for some time, they both had dreams. Each person's dream had its own meaning, but neither of them knew what their dreams meant. Joseph saw that they were sad and asked them what was wrong. "We have had dreams," they said, "but there is no one to interpret." Oh, that sound means it's time for the word of the day.
Interpret. To explain the meaning of something. Interpret.
Okay, back to the story. The cupbearer and the baker told Joseph they had dreams, but no one could interpret them. Joseph believed all dreams belonged to the one true God. He asked them what their dreams were. The cupbearer explained his dream first. He said to him, "In my dream, I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand." Joseph explained the cupbearer's dream. The cupbearer would have his position restored within 3 days, and would again give wine to the Pharaoh, as was his job before. Joseph told the cupbearer to remember him after he returned to the Pharaoh. He wanted him to ask the Pharaoh to release him from prison since he was wrongfully there. Next, the baker told Joseph his dream. He said, "On my head were 3 baskets of bread. In the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head." Joseph interpreted the meaning of the baker's dream too, but his was not a happy ending. Pharaoh would take off the baker's head, impale his body on a pole, and the birds would eat his flesh within 3 days. Ugh! Well, 3 days later, it was Pharaoh's birthday. He had a feast for his officials where he brought forward the cupbearer and the baker. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, just as Joseph said he would. And he impaled the baker, just as Joseph said he would. The chief cupbearer, with his position restored, did not remember to ask the Pharaoh to set Joseph free. And that's where our story ends for today. Now it's time for the verse to remember. This week's verse is Proverbs 2:6. "For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding." One more time. "For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding." That's all the time we have for this episode. I can't wait to see you again next time for another episode of The Word for Kids.